We go. We are the Social Ninjas. I am your co-host, Kyle Mitchell. Join with me as always, Jeremy Green. What is up, Jeremy?
What's up, Kyle? Thanks so much for having me again. It's been such a ride. You and I have been through so much. The bromance is pretty real, and thank you. Yeah, we have a special guest today, though, Kyle. Isn't that true?
We do. I'm gonna sit here
Hi,
awkwardly
guys.
looking at you.
Is this my chance to be like, hi, I'm Alessandra Torresani?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Wow. Do you have your own show? Why, yes, I do.
It's true. Too bad we weren't recording before this, but we're vibing pretty solidly.
We were getting
Bonding.
along. We were getting along.
We're being goofy. We're being real. We were doing a little bit of everything, weren't we?
We were talking merch.
Merch.
We love merch.
Merch.
We were talking all sorts of things, but I'm so excited to be here. This is so fun. Talk about a new connection of social media. Isn't it just wild how things are now that you just write someone and then it happens? I find that that's what I do all the time on my show, and I can't even believe that people write back. You're just like, what?
I
wasn't
everyone's
expecting that.
There's so many negative aspects of social media, but I'm a huge believer that it is not social media. It's how we use it. There's so much power in using it with intention.
Yes, because I will say that I can't imagine a world where any of us would have met each other or other guests that we've had by just walking down the street. I mean, we were talking about earlier before we started recording that I had just interviewed a fantastic woman from South Africa, and I had met her via someone else, but we never would have had an opportunity to talk on Zoom for a podcast recording. I don't know how that would have ever have happened. So I think that this is so exciting that we get to do this in this day and age.
So cool. I'm just going to go right into it then. For human beings who don't know who you are, are you joking me? Come on, everyone. I'm joking now.
I feel like there's a lot of people that don't, but
I know.
go with this.
I'm being silly.
Has anyone ever told you look like Ezra Miller?
No.
I'll write that down. Who is Ezra Miller?
He's the Flash.
Oh. Should we have him on the podcast next?
The movie Flash, the one that hasn't come out yet.
Oh no, we should We should have him on the podcast. We'd be like,
I don't know him. I think that he's the best though ever. So I'm like, oh my god, hi.
So let's go back. So if people don't know who you are, who's Alessandra? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a human. I'm an actress as well. And I have done TV. I've done film. I was known for being the first Cylon on Battlestar Galactica's Caprica. And I was on Big Bang Theory, and I was on Batwoman as the Joker's daughter. And then I shared my story of living with bipolar disorder. And real fun. And then I started a podcast about it because what else was I going to do? And I had been told to hide it for years because I'd be labeled as difficult or a diva on set, and like, who would want to deal with that? So it's best just to be quiet. And finally, I had met other people that were in the mental health space, and they said, look, you love to talk a lot. Why don't you just have a podcast? You could share your story. I said, no one's going to care. And they go, one person will care. And so that's kind of how this all started. And that's how my podcast, Emotional Support, began. So here we are, talking to the social ninjas.
Thanks for sharing.
So what was it like going from kind of thinking bipolar disorder was like your weakness to almost being like a strength and something you can help people with?
Well, I don't know how it's going. I think it's every day at a time. No, I think it's been really awesome. And I think that, the one thing, about social media, right, is having these connections with outside people. And I think because I shared I started doing, before I did the podcast, I started doing Instagram TV like clips talking about bipolar disorder and manic episodes and things that you go through in regards to relationships and whatnot. And then the podcast was born. And I had so many people write to me saying, oh my God, we had no idea that someone who would be on our TV, I mean, not like she, but like someone would be on the TV would have something that I have, you know, and just because you can't see the physical, you know, disorder, it's there, you know, and it's in your brain, and it's time to talk about it. And a lot of people just were writing out with such positive messages, letting me know that I wasn't alone, right? So not even just them, like that I wasn't alone, that they were here for me. So I've created like quite a community, that I just love and I cherish, and I want to take care of so much, because they are my support system, and it's people that have never met each other and I haven't met them. And there's like even a Facebook group where it's called the Emotional Support Group, and everyone goes on there from all over the world and just writes and talks and has real, authentic, genuine conversation.
I'm sold. I want to be. Can I join?
Cool. Yeah.
I'm curious if we just dive in. When did you first know that you might have, bipolar, and how did that play out?
Well, I feel like I should have known all along. You know, my mom always knew that there was something, you know, up with me. And I had been to many doctors starting when I was like 2 years old, and then 5 years old, and then 10 years old. And, you know, and no one could pinpoint what it was. And when I was on the show Caprica, I had a panic attack, and no one knew I had a panic attack except for the hair and makeup, because they fixed my hair and makeup afterwards. And I kept it quiet. And I went to an acupuncturist when I came back to LA, because I was shooting in Canada. And the acupuncturist said to me, has anyone told you that you might have bipolar disorder? And I was like, what? No, I've been to many doctors. And he said, all of the symptoms you're having are exactly the symptoms that my other clients who live with bipolar disorder have. And it took him explaining this to me to then go to the doctor and say, this is what someone told me I might have. And this new doctor said, well, of course you do. No one's ever told you this before. I go, what? No. So, you know, I'm 33 now, and I found it out when I was like 21, 22. It's pretty wild.
So what was your mindset when you first learned of this? Like, what was going through your head?
I think I was relieved, you know, and I never really thought about that until recently, because I'm asked that question, not on shows, what you just asked, but from other people that live with bipolar disorder. You know, what was your reaction like when you found out? And someone had said I was relieved, and I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what it was. Like, I couldn't process it till later, where I'm like, yeah, because I finally knew, wow, there's nothing wrong with me, but there is something that I can now get help with and not be lost and not know what was going on, and be at this, like, you know, what's going on in my life? I don't know. You know, there was some sort of definitive answer.
That's powerful. I know there's that level of denial that people go through. They're like, no, not me. I don't want to. But then it gets worse. So it never gets better. It always reminds me of like the people, I'm never going to get an STD test because then I'm good as long as I don't get tested.
Then it's not me.
That's not me.
Didn't have it.
Yeah. So can you take us through like the steps of how it helps, like just having that awareness and how how that played out?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it helped a lot knowing what was going on, and being able to figure out that, okay, there is a medication that I can try that will benefit me and not be the complete opposite like antidepressants were for me. Because when you're on antidepressants, if you're bipolar, your highs are higher and your lows are lower. So this was already really exciting for me, that there was going to be something to somewhat balance me out. But you know, to be perfectly honest, I don't think that I ever really understood the whole process of it until I met other people that went through it. Another girl that was on my show, who I did a movie with, her name is Eden. She's my first episode that I did of emotional support. And both of us talk about on the podcast how we figured out we were bipolar because I was on the phone with the pharmacist and when I was living in Atlanta for this movie, and I was like, you don't understand. I need my Lamictal. I need it. I need it. I need it. And she was like, wait, are you bipolar? And I said, yeah. And she goes, I am too. I've never heard anyone ever say this before. So, it took me speaking to other people to realize like, oh, wow. So you went through this too. And I go through this. And what helped you, to overcome this obstacle? And this is what helped me overcome. Like the process didn't really hit until about 3 years ago because I didn't have anyone to share it with.
Going back to the pros of social media, right? Like we're
Yeah.
able to share our experiences, and yeah, not everybody, but people are actually talking about it. And then you see like, oh, this person, has anxiety, and you can kind of relate. And it's like, oh, okay. I mean, just bringing that awareness. I mean, I remember growing up and I didn't understand what anxiety was. I didn't even know what the term was, but looking back, it's like, oh, that's what was going on that whole time. Like,
Yeah.
wish I would have known, because it makes it a little bit easier to work on and deal with.
You're like, of course this was it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like totally.
I like the normalizing of how we feel and just not feeling alone in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. I
Yeah,
remember,
that's the biggest thing.
yeah, I felt alone in my own stuff, and then I'd be very challenged emotionally, and I didn't want to be a burden on other people, and then I would just keep it to myself, and it'd only get worse.
You can't keep it to yourself because it gets so much worse. It's
Mm.
it's too much. You know what I mean? It's too much, and I think that that's a lot of the problem. People that I speak to who, whether they're newly diagnosed or not even just bipolar, but just any sort of mental, health issue in general, and it's hiding it and keeping a secret is never a good idea in general, let alone with mental health. But there's nothing scarier than asking for help or admitting that you have a problem, right? Because no one's going to judge you if you have diabetes. No one's going to judge you if got diagnosed with cancer, right? Or something. They're not going to judge you and be like, oh, well, you're crazy. Like that's why you got it, right? But when you're dealing with mental health, it's almost dismissed, right? People don't take it seriously. The stigma is not gone yet by any means. It's getting better because people are vocalizing it and being open and honest, but it's not there yet.
I'm curious. I'm curious to know, did you have difficulty sharing your story with people at first?
Oh yeah, I didn't tell anyone. And then when I would tell people, it was people I was in relationships with, and then they would always turn it on me that I was crazy, those were always the excuses, right? Because it's an easy excuse to blame someone else for something that they can't control, that they're born with. But now I say it so much and I talk about it so much that I'm almost numb to it, if that makes sense. Where I get value when I hear other people's stories, such as both of you guys, hearing, oh wow, look at what you guys have gone through, look at how you found each other through social media because of sharing something with your mental health, how you both were craving that connection. And so that's what I benefit now from. It's less about me sharing my story and getting it off my chest, but more hearing from other people.
Yeah, that's that's what we've deemed. Who we get the term from? Fuck yeah, folder. Was it Gary Ware? I think that's who it was. But anyways,
it was one of our TEDx speakers.
But yeah, we have what we call the fuck yeah folder. Anytime we get comments from people like praising us, or saying like you inspired me, any type of thing that you read and it's like, oh man, that makes me feel really good. And so you have that folder. So anytime you're like feeling really bad, or you're just
You
having
look at
one of
it.
those days, yeah, you go back and you look at it and it's like, oh, okay, and it's like starts to lift your spirits, because
Yeah.
then it reminds you,
Don't
like,
look at the negative though.
yeah,
Because I do that way too much.
don't have the negative folder. Don't save those ones.
Don't have a negative folder at all. Not a good idea.
It's definitely intentional, like the negative versus the positive. Like our brains are wired like it's so much easier to look at the negatives because that's how we're like protected and we're safe and we leave the cave of our, and it's so much easier. That's how we
Yeah.
survive. Our brains have just not evolved. So I like this theme of just awareness. Just be aware that our norm is to look at the negative and not, celebrate our wins and on and on and on.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the same with like mental health. I think people are like, I just want to be happy. No, you're not just happy. Like it's a practice. You're practicing certain elements that
Every single day.
every single day. That's the next good segue. What are some of your practices that you do for your mental health?
Like, what do I do? Well, one thing is I do meditate twice a day. I do transcendental meditation, and that helps me. Is that what you do? Both of you?
I do it. I don't know about
I've done it before.
Oh my God. Do you love it?
I enjoy it. It's great. I went to one of these like retreats in Santa Monica, the TM Center.
Yeah.
Hey TM Center, if you're listening, go ahead and send it to my Venmo. And I'm just kidding. And I did like a little retreat kind of thing. I got my word, your special word, and I practice it twice a day, and it's pretty fun. I've done a lot. I've done like Vipassana meditation.
It's kind of a game changer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because I was not someone that could focus on meditation and do the like gongs and the like, I'm like, oh no, that's not for me. Like, I can't sit here for this long. My mind is all over the place. Like, I don't have ADD, but I have an ADD brain where I'm just like so much is going on. And it's the only thing where I can allow my thoughts to still happen, but I'm still, in theta, like my brain. So I swear by it. My husband has been doing it for about 15 years, and I didn't want to do it because he did it. And I was like, oh, gross. Like,
I'm my own person.
So when we first met, our first trip we went to Vegas, and I was gambling, and he was like in the casino area, and he was meditating. I'm like, this guy is so weird. Like, so weird. And now I'm like, I get it. You can do it, and it's not a big deal. Like, it's great. So anyways, I'm a big fan of that. It's been really hard because I love dancing more than anything. Like, as a real dancer, are you a real dancer?
I mean,
dance partier. You're a dance partier.
Yeah, hey, listen, it's not about how good you are at something.
It's how you move.
How you move or how you feel when you're doing it. And
yeah.
I was literally talking to Kyle about this. I don't know, just dynamic of I love doing my like solo dance parties in the end of the block, and then I feel like the uncomfortability of like people are looking at me and judging me, and just like continually do it and just like, thank you so much for sharing.
You just want to live your best life. You live your best life.
I got down today. I was whew.
What's your song of choice?
I literally put on like happy dance music, and like a playlist will pop up. It's more exciting. It's more of like a surprise. So I don't know if I'll know it's coming. And I just like close my eyes and I just feel the music.
It make
it's not performing.
No, doesn't it make you feel like you're like you can take a deep breath afterwards? Now, here's my question. Kyle, what do you do?
Oh, I'll put on the spot. Jeremy
and I are pretty cool. We already do all the cool things. So Kyle,
I wouldn't call myself a dancer, although I've gone to one of Jeremy's dance parties, and it was fun, especially since my daughter got really into it as well.
You have a child? You look like a child.
Yes.
You have 3 kids?
I have 3 childs.
I thought you were 18. I thought you were 18.
Oh, I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have 3 children?
Yes,
I am
ma'am.
so confused right now. I thought you were like maybe in college.
Nope.
Your confusion is welcome.
Yeah. Do people say that all the time to you?
All the time. I'm used to it. It doesn't really bother me too much. It used to
have a
bother
baby
me
face.
when I was a kid. Like, people would be like, "You look so little," and I would get so freaking mad.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm just, it's like, I'm 27, and this seems like a great perk for me, honestly.
Honestly, like, keep it going. Like, the younger, the better. Like, just keep it flowing. Oh my gosh. So what do you do? Because that's a lot. Having 3 kids, how do you even function?
Apparently, this is your podcast now.
Sorry. Turn it around.
Have it. I love it.
I'm willing to share. So my big thing is morning routines. I mean, that's something I discovered with my first child. not as soon as we had her, but uh, as we kind of went on, and there's kind of a whole story behind it. I won't get into the whole thing, but yeah, I discovered like morning routines, and I started building on different little practices and testing and optimizing and realizing like, wow, when I take time, like an hour at the beginning of every day for myself, and I meditate and I do my gratitude journal. And
Yeah. Right.
I do my mirror work with some self affirmations, some music going, getting me hyped, raising my frequency. Like I feel so much better that day. Like that day has so much better potential for me to be feeling great as compared to days that, I don't get my morning routine in, which, happens. I'm not completely consistent always. And
We just have to take a moment to let everyone know that Jeremy is having a full dance party by himself.
he's getting it. We're not
But
judging
I
you.
love what you say about high frequency, because like what Jeremy is doing is bringing the frequency in, and you have to physically move your body to allow that energy to get inside you.
Yeah. I'll be jumping up and down in the bathroom mirror. Like that's what I do every morning.
Oh my gosh. But you have to really keep it together because you have 3 kids, and you have to make sure that you take care of yourself first so you can take care of them. Because if you're mentally not there, then it's not fair to them.
Yeah, I can't be the best dad if I'm not taking care upstairs up here. So
Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, how cute. Well, what else do you want to ask me? I feel like I turned this around. Sorry, guys.
I don't know. I got totally thrown off when I became the interviewee. Now I'm just like completely blank.
Do
What was
people
your-
do that a lot to you?
No, well, you
No.
not too. No. I think you have your own podcast. You're like practiced. So I feel like. It's like
Well,
a
and I
thing.
think that
Yeah.
I'm just a very, beyond being having a podcast, I'm a very curious person. So I feel, yeah, exactly. So I feel like I'm so interested, and I just want to pick everyone's brain of what they do for their own mental health, for their own stability. What is their morning routine? Like, what are these things? And not even in a, I want to be the interviewer and take over this. I'm curious because I take a little bit of what everyone does and I'll test it out. Maybe sometimes
Same.
it doesn't work, right? It could not work, but at least I've tried it because, I can feel energy of like, you just feel balanced. You know what I mean? Jeremy, not you. Kyle, you've Jeremy, you're like me. We're like
Wow.
bouncing off the wall.
Yeah, we are. Oh yeah, he's more the introvert, more the
I'm the
extrovert.
introvert. He's the
Well, he
extrovert.
also has 3 kids. So it's like, I look at that and I'm like, God, you have to be so mentally sound to be able to handle all of that. So that's why I'm so curious. Like, what do you do? So anyways, I'm very happy that you told me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate
I'm just gonna
it.
throw this in there. Kyle is working on a book that has to do with morning routines.
True that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm also
Wow, and-
semi saying this to push him to like finish it quicker.
Finish it. Finish it.
The first draft will be done by the end of March. That is my goal.
Good.
Ooh.
Good. Fancy schmancy.
That's so fancy, look at that. See, they're gonna finish a book. That's so exciting, ever.
What are the listeners like? What are their responses, and what is the question that they usually ask you as the host for the other guests and stuff? Is there anything that's like a consistent question that they ask about?
You mean like what do we like a consistent question we ask guests or
No, like
ask
when
us?
your listeners, do they ever write in and say, we love to hear when you ask this from
I mean, it's
guests?
pretty similar to what you talked about, like things and tips for helping their mental health and becoming more confident and not having
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. I mean, I do a very solid amount of seeing what the issues and problems that people are having. What are they? What is the thing that keeps like I'm having trouble being motivated? How do I
Mhm.
find my purpose? What are some practices I can do? Just stuff like that.
Because what I realized is like the first season of Emotional Support was very, I was lucky. I had a lot of friends from being actors and singers and musicians and all that fun, fancy stuff, my fancy friends that did all favors for me, not knowing what my podcast was, and really opening up, because while they could go on a Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon and talk about themselves, there's 5 minutes. They can't really talk about the depth of eating disorders and drug. Sorry guys, I'm just turning this off for your sound, and drug addiction, and depression, or family members having mental health disorders. There's no time really to talk about that except for themselves. And so I was very lucky on the first season they got to talk about this. So the second season, a lot of the listeners would write in and we go, this is so interesting to know that, all these famous people, they have issues too, and we're not alone. But what do we do? Like, what are the tools? Like, what can we provide? And I didn't know any professionals. I didn't know anyone in the mental health space. And literally, how we connected, I just started reaching out to people and direct messaging them, and having no shame, and being like, they can say no, but if they say no, they're assholes, but they shouldn't say no, because this is like something that if this is their occupation and this is their job, then they're going to want to share, how to help. But I think that that's why the second season, the listeners responded more, because it was about providing the tools of how to fix, what is the recommendation. So I think that that's really cool, that that's what you guys are doing, and asking the right questions.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting how we talk about like turn our pain into our biggest superpowers, and I've definitely done that. Like I do mindset coaching, and I support people in just changing their complete mindset. I've done so much research and so many trainings and so many retreats in the forests, and it's just for myself.
Love a retreat.
Yeah. Oh God, so good. Just cry my eyes out in the best way possible and reprogram my brain. The best. It's very hard. So I learned all this stuff for myself, and then I realized, I was like, oh wait, this can be helpful to just a couple of people. So that's kind of got me going. And I love it. I love seeing like someone, start them off when they don't really believe themselves, and they're just accepting these like stories they tell themselves, and then like helping them like, all right, it's all nonsense. All the stuff you're saying to yourself, all those limiting beliefs. And let's try on the new belief systems that you want to bring into your life. And it's so powerful. Just seeing that look of like, you believed in me and I didn't. Now I believe in me. That look.
And it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Just that real. I love just a real, authentic connection. It's one of the more just what is it? What is the ego? The ego dynamic, like killing the ego.
Oh, I know what you're talking
What's
about.
the word I'm looking for?
Talked about this yesterday.
Ego death, is that called?
Is it ego death? Is that what it is? Like death of the ego kind of?
Yeah, just throwing your ego aside over and over again.
Yeah.
Being real even when it's scary.
And that's it, right? Being real even though it's scary. That's just the truth of it all,
So I'm gonna ask you a question we asked all our guests. You ready?
Okay.
If you had one message for the world, what would that message be?
That's a good one. What would my
message
be? Oh, I could do it. I can answer that. Was that really not a question that you asked people?
No, it is. It is a question we ask people.
Oh, my one message would be, love yourself. Love yourself, warts and all. Love yourself no matter what you look like, what you feel like, because love is the key. Love is the change.
Love is the key. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think it's an underrated thing. It sounds goofy to a lot of people, including myself, especially, in the past, like love yourself. Like, man, when you can actually love yourself, and it doesn't matter what other people think about you, you love yourself. Like,
you can change the world.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
It's true. I used to try to like coach when I didn't fully love myself and I wasn't practicing. I think self-love is such a practice also. So for me, I remember when I first hired a coach and she went through it, like what I was going through, my routines, what I was doing. She's like, all right, you need to like really love all over yourself before you support other people. I'm like, you're right. So I created so many love all over myself routines and making sure I was taking care of myself fully. And then my ability to show up for others just skyrocketed once I was really, really taking care of myself.
It's the most important thing that you can do.
Yeah. I'm so grateful we are so grateful to have you on. It's been
Not Kyle. Kyle's like, she asked too much about the kids.
She drilled me too hard. I know what
I
I'm
was
not
like,
coming
my
on your
God.
podcast
She
now.
interviewed me.
No. Kyle's like, well, this was fun. This LA girl.
An LA
No,
guy,
I
Jamie.
had such a blast. Honestly, guys, I think this is really cool. I think that it's so special what you're doing and keep on being you. And you know, the more of us that are out there speaking about mental health and trying to make it stigma free, it will eventually change. And then in years from now, we're going to look back and laugh and be like, remember when people thought that this was fake? Like, you know, can you imagine?
Yeah.
So I think that just keep on keeping on.
Thank you. Oh, don't forget, the Social Ninjas has merch. What?
Yes.
Kyle is wearing one of our brand new merch items. It says mental health equals your physical health, because your mental health is just as important as your physical health.
If not more important.
That's just one of our shirts. No big deal. Huh? And Alessandra's coming up with a merch shop. I'm going to help her out.
Yes,
We're
please.
gonna
I
get
need
it
a
going.
merch shop. I get asked every single day, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know. I got mugs. Like, isn't that enough? But I want sweatpants. That's what I want. I want sweatpants for myself.
I mean, in sweatpants you shall receive.
Great. Great.
Thanks
Well,
again.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, before we go, people wanting to follow you on Instagram, listen to the podcast,
yeah, I should
where
plug.
can they hit you up at?
Plug, girl,
I never
plug.
plug, and I should do this. This is terrible. Well, you can find me personally, not the physical version of me, but the Instagram
Digital.
version at Alessandra Torresani, which is just my name. And then please listen to my podcast, Emotional Support. You can find that at Emotional Support Pod on Instagram.com, all that fun stuff. And rate, review, give me stars. Some
At
mean
least
person,
5. At least 5.
At least 5. Some mean person
Yeah.
gave me one time, a 1-star review, because it was like probably someone that just hated me from back in the day. And I was like, you ruined the whole algorithm. Like, what is wrong with you?
They didn't hate you. They hated themselves. Let's be real.
I know. So 5 stars. Both of you boys, please write a review, and I will write one for you.
Heck yeah. And stay tuned for the Social Ninjas on our podcast. We are going to be bringing vulnerability and some tips and tricks and life.
It's gonna get real deep, and you boys have no idea what you're in for.
I hope I cry, because I said it was real.
I'm gonna get Kyle to cry. I feel like Kyle's the one that I gotta get to cry.
Shouldn't be too hard.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks, guys.
All right.
Yes, thank you. We'll see you all next week.